everyone, Hungry Reader here. It's December 24th, as far as you know. Christmas Eve. Time for the second to last. Not a creature was stirring. Now you've heard me complain about how much gets left out of your typical adaptation of The Wizard of Oz. And earlier this month you heard me complain about the complete lack of denouement that comes with Stuart Little. Now, can you think of a story that combines both of those problems and also includes one of the most kick-ass mice of the whole month? I can. It's the Nutcracker. There are tons of different picture book editions of the Nutcracker, each retelling the original story The Nutcracker and the Mouse King by E.T.A. Hoffmann to a greater or lesser degree. But most people aren't even familiar with that story, they only know it as a ballet. If that, some people only know it as a Fantasia segment. That's the weird thing about the Nutcracker. Over the years, it's shed just about every single plot point, and now the only thing that remains is that usually there is a Nutcracker, except when there isn't. This book is the version that I grew up with, a retelling by Japanese author Toshiko Yamanouchi. Though the real credit for this book goes to the distinctive artwork of Seiichi Horiyuchi. Since this book doesn't include it, let's see if I can remember the backstory of the Nutcracker. Once upon a time, there was a kingdom and an evil mouse queen who had cursed the princess of that kingdom to be ugly. And they found that the only way to cure the princess of her ugliness was to eat a certain kind of nut. And the nut could not be cracked except by somebody who had never worn boots. And he also had to take 7 steps backward blindfolded afterward, or else the curse would revert onto him. And the king's main assistant and his assistant journeyed around for years until they discovered that it was the child assistant who had all of these qualities. So he cracked the nut between his teeth and gave it to the princess, but on the 7th step backward, he stepped on the mouse queen and fell backward and was transformed into a nutcracker. This is all in the book. The best retelling of the story that I've seen was in a movie called The Nutcracker Prince. Which was mostly kind of a half-assed Disney princess movie, but the story of the Nutcracker is told in Saturday morning animation, which makes it the best part of the movie. Especially the king, who has the voice of the monster across the street.
A prince? Ha! Prince of the dolls, maybe.
That's the part that always gets left out of the ballet. This book here is just what you see in the ballet. Such excitement! It was Christmas Eve. The house was filled with aunts and uncles, cousins and friends. And when it was time to open the presents, Maria got a lovely doll with eyes that opened and closed. Fritz was given a proud white horse and a fine set of toy soldiers. Then, way under the tree, Maria found an odd-looking little wooden man. "What a funny, angry face he has!" she cried. She cried? "He will be my favorite toy!" The Nutcracker himself is one of the best parts of the illustrations. He just looks so incredibly silly in every scene. Maria's Nutcracker accidentally breaks when her brother tries a nut that's too big, and she puts the Nutcracker to bed in her doll hospital. Now, there are a lot of interesting stories about what might happen on midnight Christmas Eve, like Santa coming down your chimney. Another tradition that I've heard is that all the animals gain the ability to speak at that time only. But in the Nutcracker, something interesting happens at 12 midnight on Christmas Eve. Mice attack and destroy everything in sight! And this part of the book is why I've always been disappointed with the ballet. The mice are led by a king, and the king has a certain feature that has never been reproduced, or at least not well, on the ballet stage. Seven heads! Man, can you imagine how many puppeteers it would take to have a 7-headed monster on Sesame Street? At that instant, all the toys came to life. The horses reared, the soldiers lined up, the drummers drummed, and the cannons rolled into position. And hello, blackface! Eek! It's really hard to explain to Japan why we don't want to see that anymore. The Nutcracker leads his men in a fierce battle using candy cannonballs and bursting the mice into powdered sugar, I think. But it's a losing battle, and just as the Nutcracker is about to be skewered on the tip of the Mouse King's rapier, Maria throws her shoe at the Mouse King and destroys him. Actually, it looks sort of like she split him into 7 other mice. Ooh, will he reunite? Actually, have you ever heard of the idea of a rat king? This is something that I just learned about. It's part of, like, German rat catcher mythology. Apparently rat catching was big enough in Germany for a while that they had their own mythology. They probably have their own Paul Bunyan. But they used to say that if rats got their tails stuck together, they would become one organism. I think this is just something horrible people used to do to animals before TV was invented, but... The battle is won, and the Nutcracker happily takes Maria's hand and leads her to his kingdom. And how do you get to a magical kingdom? Well, through a wardrobe. Yeah, about 100 years before The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, this story has a wardrobe whose doors fly open and lead you to the land of cake and candy. And now there's no more plot. It becomes a sort of travelogue, and it's just kind of an excuse for Mr. Horiuchi to really paint his heart out on these. The gate made of wedding cake with a band of happy monkeys playing at the top. The glade of candy trees where shepherds and shepherdesses do a dance in Maria's honor. The golden seashell pulled across the lake by dolphins as they're serenaded by whoa, blackface! Oh! I know it was the 70s, but come on, Japan. Finally, they reached the capital of the land of cake and candy. From its domes, it looks pretty Russian to me. Appropriately enough, since we're probably listening to Tchaikovsky right now. Yep. The Nutcracker introduces Maria to his 4 beautiful sisters. So, female Nutcrackers look like that, but males look like him. It's kind of a Princess Peach and Mushroom Retainers situation. But just as they're sitting down for a great feast, Maria wakes up, and standing over her is Uncle Nutcracker. I had a dream and you were there! Because of this book, I was under the impression that the Nutcracker was all the story of this little girl's dream. I looked it up and, nope. She lives happily as the princess of the land of cake and candy for the rest of her life in the original book. Dang! Now that's a happy ending. We've gotten to see a lot of different books about mice in the last month. Some where they live in holes, some where they live in homes. But this was the first one where the mouse was the villain. In literature, just as in real life, mice are versatile. They find a way to fit into any story they need to. Mice can be taken as they are, or mice can be a metaphor. Mice can be pests, mice can be pets, mice can be friends. It's almost like there's nothing that a person can do that a mouse can't do. That's why we love mice, because they're us. This has been a really long project. It took a lot longer than I even expected it to, even just cutting the videos down to about 3 minutes each. But tomorrow is Christmas, and it's all been worthwhile. Thanks so much for joining me for Not a Creature Was Stirring. I don't know if I'll have another episode tomorrow. We'll find out. See you soon. And I almost forgot. Merry Christmas.